I'm joined now by Ivan Eland. He's a senior fellow and director of the Center on Peace and Liberty at the Independent Institute. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me on.
We just heard that last bit in our report about Norway and Denmark coming to the meeting. Haven't had the best of times with Russia in the last year or so. What do you make of this relationship thaw that might be taking place amongst these countries?
Well, I think the problem over Ukraine has somewhat receded into the past, even though the situation is still going on. And I also think that there's weakness in the West, perceived as being the U.S. pulling inward a bit, and also the EU having problems. So perhaps some of these countries are hedging their bets, and they want to keep better relations with Russia.
Especially in this Arctic region, it has a lot of countries in that area have a lot of concerns about the security of it, the environment, transportation. Talk about this forum and what it means to all of them.
Well, I think, that with the ice receding, there's all sorts of openings for ship traffic and that sort of thing, more commerce, et cetera. And of course, there's also a lot of resources that could be uncovered and perhaps, more easily, dug out of the ground, so to speak, or pumped out of the ground, whichever. And so I think there's a lot of opportunity. And of course, you've got the climate change issue, which is, of course, driving everything. You've got, this soot on the ice, which is speeding up the climate change. And so there's lots of different issues that they're talking about. And I think it also gives some of the countries a chance on the side to talk about other things.
They're all going to need each other to really work together here in this region. China holds observer status within the Arctic Council. It's helping underwrite some of Russia's Arctic infrastructure projects. Russia, a member nation. Do you think this could be a new model of cooperation here?
Well, I certainly think they are cooperating in that area. And I think actually a lot of other countries should get on the bandwagon as well. I mean, this is an area that's changing rapidly, and certainly China wants to play a role in it, even though it's not right on the Arctic. So certainly countries that can either provide, diplomatic agreement on some of these issues would be welcome probably in this group of countries.
Because it's becoming a very competitive area.
Yes, yes, it is. And it, usually used to be it was too cold and frozen and that sort of thing, and now it's less so. And I think there's a lot of countries, who are interested in the minerals, and there's also a lot of concern about the coastlines, the rising seas over time and that sort of thing.
One last little bit there. We couldn't get away from politics. President Putin was asked about Russia's alleged interference in the U.S. election. He emphatically said no. Just want to get your take on what took place there, that exchange during the forum. You can't really escape it. People are asking him about it.
He's going to get asked that a lot, and he's always said no, of course, but U.S. intelligence agencies are there's pretty well agreement in the United States that happened, even among Republicans, except Donald Trump, I think, has even agreed to the fact that the Russians did play a role, although he's much more reluctant. But I think certainly the question is, did the Trump campaign have collusion with the Russians? And that's what the U.S. congressional committees are investigating. But in the United States, it's almost universal that the Russians did meddle in the election.
But he's leaving it open for a possible meeting on the sidelines, either in Finland at the next big meeting or even the G20 meetings this summer in Germany.
Well, Vladimir Putin is an expert at international diplomacy. And so I think, he wants to work with the United States and other countries when he can. And I think he would like to get out from under some of these sanctions that the West has put on him, because they're really hurting the Russian economy. So, he's doing what most leaders do, and that is cooperate when you can and push back when you have to, or he feels he has to. So I think it was a big mistake for him to meddle in the U.S. election, but that's happened. And so now that's going to be another source of tension between the two countries.
Ivan Eland, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.